What's up guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the perfect documentary setup and why I chose the equipment I chose for my job here at Shred, making documentary films about athletes and their unique stories. This video is not going to be super in-depth about the specs of the camera. There are tons of videos out there already, but I'm just going to run through why I think this camera is perfect for documentaries and other types of filmmaking. So the three things that I think that make a good documentary setup is familiarity. How familiar are you with the camera when you need to change settings on the fly and get that little bits of golden moments kind of in a crunch on set. Second is good picture quality, something that can shoot really good slow motion, has high image quality for any cropping in you need to do in post. Having good audio is the third thing you need in a good documentary setup. Multiple tracks is usually kind of the standard, just so you have a backup of your backup. So there are multiple reasons why I chose the FX6. I didn't use it until last year. I went on a documentary shoot in Alaska, and this is kind of the camera package that we took. A few key things that stood out to me about the FX6 were the autofocus is just insane. It's tack sharp, it's super fast, and you have the touch to focus ability on the FX6 monitor. It can also shoot 4K up to 120 frames. You get the full frame 4K. The autofocus is incredibly fast and sharp. With the touch to focus ability, it's great for getting quick focus with the touch of your finger, and it has really good tracking, eye tracking autofocus. I'm really a fan of the shooting modes. It can shoot up to 4K 120. That's all I really need in terms of slow motion. I don't need anything slower than that or that kind of thing. But the 4K, full frame 4K image is just beautiful. It looks great on the monitor, which we'll get to in a second. Another thing about the FX6 is it has multiple tracks of audio. You have two XLR inputs on the top handle. You have a hot shoe capability on the top handle as well, and then a built-in mic on the top handle. There's no 3.5 input on the body or XLR inputs on the body, which I know tons of people have talked about in terms of cons of the FX6, but I really don't find it to be an issue for me. I also don't think this camera is meant to be used without the top handle. I know people out there use it on a gimbal, but in terms of the ergonomics of this camera, I think the top handle is perfect and should kind of always stay on the camera. I think the biggest thing about the FX6 is the built-in internal NDs. Tons of people have talked about it, but to have built-in auto ND is kind of just a game changer. It's actually wild how smooth and accurate it can be in terms of applying the right ND setting for the perfect exposure. Now, having this internal ND system, it kind of eliminates the need for a matte box and having an ND filter tray through the matte box, or having a screw-on ND filter. Now, the power solution that I kind of recommend and think is the perfect kind of fit for this documentary setup is I have the wooden camera battery plate that you can kind of adjust, and it just plugs in through the DC jack on the back of the camera, and you can mount gold mount batteries to it. I'm using the HyperCore Neo Minis. I chose gold mount over V mount because I feel like V mount can just get bumped off the battery mount much easier, and the gold mounts are much more secure in my opinion. But these are really good batteries, and I mean, you could shoot all day on just two of these batteries, and they charge pretty fast. Another reason why I chose the gold mount battery setup is just so I don't have to carry around the Sony BPU batteries that came with the FX6. This doesn't really last that long. So if you were to like shoot all day on location, you kind of need multiple of these, and keeping track and charging multiple of them versus just worrying about two bigger battery sets, then it's kind of a no-brainer. Another reason why the battery plate is really good for this setup is to kind of get that ergonomic, super steady handheld, because you can just put it up against the inside of your shoulder and just super steady handheld all day. Having that kind of buttstock, if you will, makes for really perfect and easy handheld shooting. Next is this small HD 7-inch monitor. It's absolutely beautiful. It produces a really beautiful image. It really helps me see what the footage is gonna look like in the edit. You can load in LUTs, you can have false color, you can have all these different kind of tools to use. And I just think the small HD monitors are really great quality in terms of build, what you get for your money. This one is kind of expensive, but I think it's totally worth it. It's a beautiful monitor to use to help capture great footage. Now, the lens of choice for this setup is the Sigma 24-70 2.8. I just think it's super sharp, produces a super sharp image, super fast autofocus, even though it's not a native lens. I think the zoom range is kind of perfect for that documentary shooting style. The 24, it's the perfect wide angle focal length, and then up to 70 millimeters is kind of all I've found that I needed. It's just, I think, the perfect documentary lens. Now, for the audio setup for this documentary setup is I have the Rode NTG4. I like the NTG4 because it's a bit shorter. The shotgun mic mount seems a little bit fragile on the top handle. It has a 10 dB pad, a couple other settings, and it sounds great. I also have the kind of foam windscreen that came with the NTG4, as also I got the dead cat for kind of any outdoor situations. Now, in terms of a lav mic setup, I went with the Rode Wireless Go 2s, which is the 2-pack. So you have 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. I think looking back on it, I would go with something different just because of not being able to utilize the hot shoe capability of the top handle. Something like the Sony UWP D21 would be perfect for this setup. You can use the hot shoe capability of the top handle without taking up an XLR port on your top handle, allowing for even more tracks of audio. I got this lav setup from B&H. They sent a combo with the lav wires, which I found to be really cheap. They weren't Rode branded, they were a different brand, but they just feel really cheap, flimsy, and I'm sure they just don't sound that good. I haven't used them. These Rode Wireless Go 2s are kind of a perfect run and gun, cheaper option though, because the footprint themselves is really small. I mean, it's hard to get much smaller than this. They hold their charge for all day use. I used these on a shoot a couple days ago, and we were following this one athlete around for the entire day, held their charge the entire day with some charge to spare. For the boom setup, I just have this standard boom pole with this XLR cable kind of Velcroed to it. Shock mounts that I've used in the past are kind of those rubber banded, like crisscross ones. I found those to be really flimsy in terms of holding the mic. I found this option. It's the Rode SM4R. It holds this Rode mic perfectly. And it's super minimalistic, it's super simple, and yeah, it's just, I mean, you can tilt it. It's like kind of the simplest version of a shock mount for a boom mic. I wasn't going to include any lights in this perfect documentary setup, but I am pretty damn impressed with these 2 lights that I'm using right now. They're the Amaran 200XS. The bicolor capabilities is kind of perfect for any interview setup. They're super easy to control. You can connect them to your phone via the Sidus Link app and control intensity, dimming curves, lighting effects, color temperature, all that kind of thing. Now, these lights have the Aperture Light Dump 2 soft boxes with the grid attachment on them. I mean, it produces just a soft, like diffused kind of perfect light for lighting up any kind of scene, any interview. I'm sure this setup will evolve and develop in the future as I kind of keep making documentaries and find what I like, what I don't like, but as of right now, this is pretty much the best documentary setup that I've found. This is just a perfect setup for kind of a one-man band filmmaker in a sense, without needing a boom operator or a focus puller or any of that kind of thing. I'll be posting a cinematography breakdown that I did this past month with this exact documentary setup, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions about gear, I'll leave links to absolutely everything in the description below. Or if you have overall thoughts of this setup, any recommendations, any things that you've used that you recommend that I should try, let me know in the comments. But yeah, this is kind of my perfect documentary setup. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Let me know in the comments what gear you guys are using. Thanks for watching, leave a like, consider subscribing, it'll just help me out making these videos. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Peace. God damn it.